He's definitely had a huge impact on the music industry. His ability to consistently release hits and adapt to new trends is pretty remarkable. What aspects of his success do you find most impressive?
When Drake was asked who should present him with the Artist of the Decade, he had a lot of choices. It could have been one of his peers, it could have been one of his mentors, it could have just been one of his very famous friends that are interesting.
It sounds like you're describing someone who's accomplished a lot, likely in music. You're focusing on their humble beginnings and the sheer scale of their success, which is interesting. Are you talking about someone specific? I'd love to know more.
And Drake says it's for his own safety, with people already trying to snap pictures and even get onto his property. He's even dropped $1 million on trees so his neighbors will have more to look at than, just the wall.
That's a powerful introduction to Drake's story. It sounds like you're setting up a really detailed look not just at his music, but at his entire business and cultural impact, especially how that ties back to Toronto. Where are you planning to focus next? On his early days in entertainment? Or maybe his first real business ventures? That's a really descriptive picture of his upbringing. You can definitely see how those experiences, that feeling of being in between, might have shaped his perspective and fueled his creativity. It sounds like that pull towards the arts was pretty strong from early on. Is there something specific you're thinking about doing with that information? Maybe for a project or just out of curiosity? That's a really crucial point you're bringing up. People often focus on the transition to music, but those years on Degrassi were basically his professional training ground. He was learning stage presence, memorizing lines, dealing with long hours, all skills that absolutely translate to commanding a concert stage later. Plus, being in the public eye from a young age, even in Canada, probably conditioned him to handle the level of scrutiny that came with his fame later. What's another aspect of that time you think people overlook? That really paints a different picture than the one we see now, doesn't it? That contrast between the struggle and the current success definitely shows a driven side. It's interesting to think about how those early challenges might have shaped his music and his perspective now. Was there anything about that description that particularly stood out to you? That's a really good description of that early phase. It really highlights how he created his own path, leveraging the internet and that unique blend of styles when the industry standard was pretty different. Is there a specific part of that story you want to explore further, like the impact of So Far Gone or his relationship with Lil Wayne? That's a really comprehensive summary of Drake's rise. You hit on all the key milestones, from the Young Money signing to the massive success of those early albums. It really highlights how consistent his run has been. Is there a specific album or era you're most interested in, or perhaps you're thinking about his impact on a particular aspect of the industry? That's a really comprehensive summary of his impact. You hit on the massive streaming numbers, the financial success, and the idea of leveraging that platform for business. It really does show a strategy beyond just releasing songs. Is there a particular aspect of those business ventures you're curious about, or something you want to dive deeper into? That's a lot of detail about Drake's financial power moves. It highlights how much value he's generated, not just through music sales, but also through massive deals and touring. Was there something specific you wanted to discuss about it, like his business acumen or the scale of the Universal deal? That overview really highlights Drake's strategic moves, from leveraging record signees to create a distinct sound, to establishing a full-blown brand with clothing and events. It seems like he's been methodical about building multiple streams of influence. Is there a particular aspect of that strategy you're most interested in? That's a pretty strategic play. Leveraging his brand to influence fashion and entertainment on that scale? It's more than just endorsements. It's about ownership and shaping culture. What do you think makes those particular ventures so successful for him? It sounds like Drake has a real eye for partnerships and ventures with strong potential. He seems to know how to leverage his brand effectively across different industries. Are you interested in other business ventures he's been involved in, or perhaps a specific aspect of his business strategy? That's a diverse range of ventures. It covers business, music streaming deals, and sports partnerships. Is there a particular aspect you'd like to know more about, like his business strategy or his influence on sports?
A Grammy winner who sold millions of records. Toronto's own Drake is at the top of his game.
He's agreed to be point guard.
So it's no wonder the Toronto Raptors want to capitalize on his fame.
It sounds like you're describing Drake's impact on the Raptors. That relationship definitely seems to go deeper than just being a fan. Like, he's woven himself into the team's identity itself. Is there something specific you find particularly interesting about it? Or maybe you wanted to move on to that next part you mentioned, about how he lives. That's quite a description. The embassy sounds incredibly grand, especially with comparisons to a head of state's residence. Is there anything specific you'd like to know about the property or Drake's life there?
There is luxury, and then there is ultra luxury, and that is what the builder behind Drake's mansion under construction has created. Our Andrea Kay stopped by the Bridle Path site and has this report.
It's a residential construction site like no other. This 35,000 square foot mansion on 2 acres in the Bridle Path is the future home of Drake.
That's quite a description. It sounds like an incredibly lavish residence, prioritizing luxury and scale. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss about it, like the architectural style or the cost? Wow, that sounds incredibly grand. A chandelier with 20,000 crystals, Italian marble floors, gold accents. It definitely paints a picture of extreme luxury. And an indoor basketball court, complete with a skylight? That's a major statement piece. Is this description from something you're reading or watching? That sounds like an incredibly luxurious home, basically combining aspects of a resort, a high-end sports facility, and a professional studio all in one place. The scale of things, like the master suite size and the weight of that bathtub, is really something. Is there any specific part of that description you find particularly interesting? That's an intense description of his home, and it paints a picture of extreme luxury and security. The detail about the custom Bosendorfer piano, designed with Takashi Murakami, really highlights his specific taste and access to one-of-a-kind items. What part of that description stood out most to you? It sounds like Drake has managed to translate his success into a remarkable lifestyle and a lot of influence. That jet detail is particularly striking, showing how valuable his personal brand has become. Is there anything specific about this information you wanted to discuss? That excerpt really captures Drake's trajectory, highlighting his hustle and that strong connection to Toronto. It emphasizes that his success isn't just about the money, but also about building a brand that's tied to his roots. Is there a particular aspect of that story you find most interesting? It sounds like you're describing a place that's far more than just a residence. It's become a brand, a symbol of success and influence. It makes you think about how personal spaces can be intentionally crafted to project a specific image or legacy. Was there a particular aspect of its portrayal that stood out to you? Wow, that's a really powerful description of his career trajectory. It really highlights the longevity and consistent growth. Is there something specific about that passage you wanted to discuss, like his business acumen or his influence? That's a really powerful way to put it. It highlights that it's not just about the money or the fame, but about completely reshaping the creative landscape and putting a whole city on his back. That kind of influence is rare. Is there a particular aspect of his legacy you find most impressive?